Magic Makers. I'm Mombirella.
I'm Yukita Cosplay.
Juju Jones here.
And I'm CJ Peterson. Welcome to Magic Making Mischief. Get your wands to the ready because we solemnly swear we're up to no good. And speaking of up to no good, we have with us a special guest, and it is truly my honor to have him with us today. We have with us Corin Nemec from many, many shows, including one of my favorites, which is Stargate SG1. There's also Parker Lewis. There is Bundy. There is Star Trek Renegades. There's The Stand, Operation Dumbo Drop, Doomsday Device, and so many, many, many more. So welcome, Corin Nemec, with us.
Yay! Yay!
What's happening,
Welcome.
everyone? If I had known that there was going to be some magic wands involved, I know somewhere around here I have several boxes of them. I should have grabbed one and and casted a couple of spells with you, a couple of whimsical spells.
Oh, we got spells all over. I'm a Ravenclaw. We got them everywhere.
Go
They get
Gryffindor.
Ooh.
Hufflepuff all the way.
Yes, we got them.
Slytherin.
I am a Ravenclaw. I got lots of spells.
Yeah.
That's great.
And Momby's a Slytherin to add
Well, thank
to
you
it.
for having me on, everyone. It's great to see you all. Appreciate you having me on. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you, like I said, for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. You have tons going on, including a special project that you mentioned earlier that you have coming up or that you're currently working on, correct?
Yes, I'm in the editing process. We do have one more day of shooting coming up in next week, actually, because we had some actors that weren't available during the time period of our primary shooting schedule. So we had to kind of schedule a satellite shooting sequence. It's a scene that's between Tara Reid and Jason London and some other actors.
Wow.
Awesome.
And
this sounds like it's around.
I guess I'll go ahead and. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let the cat out of the bag. I mean, the movie is called Chickenhead, and it's a mockumentary. It's a horror comedy, and it's about a group of documentary filmmakers who go to a fictional town called Gallus, Florida, up in the northern part of Florida, south of the Okefenokee Swamp, and to discover whether or not the legend of the half man, half chicken that has been terrorizing this town for 50 years is real or not. And lo and behold, when they get there and they set off at night to discover whether, if this creature exists, it does. And one by one, each of the filmmakers is killed until nobody is left except their footage.
Oh, dang.
Oh, so it's like Blair Witch meets the Cryptids. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, and Bill Diamond, who is Bill Diamond, who is famous from Jim Henson Productions for decades and decades. He's one of the most famous puppet makers, and he's also built a lot of stuff for a lot of horror films and everything. But he designed our entire half man, half chicken, creature. So it looks fantastic, and it's going to be very amusing. I certainly hope it is. It better be.
That's
are
awesome.
are you in it? Are you directing it? Are you both? Or
Yes, I co-wrote it with a partner of mine, Matt Florio, who lives down here. I'm starring in it alongside David Faustino and Keith Coogan.
wow.
Also, my writing partner is in it, Matt Florio, and obviously I mentioned that Tara Reid, Jason London will be doing some roles, and then there's a great cast of stand-up comedians and other actors that are all playing parts in it. It's a wonderful ensemble.
We've
That's
actually had
amazing.
Coogan on here.
We have had Keith Coogan on here. You're correct.
We have.
Yeah, he's great. He plays a character who's obsessed with birds and has his own bird watching show that and his character is constantly not paying attention because he's looking for birds. But anyway, I'm very excited about it. We're in the editing process. Hopefully, we'll have a finished version of it sometime around October, November. And be able to screen it and see where we're at that point. But I'm looking at distribution, most likely early 2027.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool. So,
Yes.
fifth question. Stargate is one of my favorite sci-fi shows. Was very devastated when they kind of slowly faded you out of there. What was your favorite episode working on Stargate?
I had a couple of favorite ones, but there was one called Shadow Play, which was the first time that the character Jonas gets to get off the base and kind of experience life in the real world. And they investigate this, this mysterious, I guess you call it like a symbiote outbreak or something, in a small town where all these people are being taken over by symbiotes. And what?
I said I remember that one, and it was like they would night, kind of. They would
it was kind of like an X-Files-ish kind of episode, and it was just a lot of fun. It was different than the other stuff we were doing, and it was an opportunity to play with different, with the character a little bit, and what is his response to being off base, and it was also a really cool storyline. But that was one of them. There was another one we did an Antarctica episode where we built like a big chunk of Antarctica on a huge sound stage with crazy air conditioners that brought the temperature down to like 38 degrees and had snowmobiles they were driving around on set. And I mean, we're in a sound stage and they're like driving snowmobiles on it. It was mad, so there was certain episodes that were that the scope of the production was so big. It was jaw dropping and it was very impressive to work on that show. Just very impressive.
Oh,
That was awesome. Let me ask you here real quick. Do we have any questions in the chat that need to be
We
read off?
actually have real quick commercial. Jeremy Vanders, everyone. All right. Get your wands, ladies. Jeremy Vanders Wands, maker of beautiful wands since 2024. And now we have presenting our Hufflepuff resident, Juju has hers. Woo! Yay! She got it.
And of course it's pink and sparkly.
That was very
Of
nice.
course it's pink. What other color would it be? Come on.
Of course it is. Camp TV says howdy.
Hey, Liz, it's my sister.
That's very kind. Look at that. And Super Hubby says, so I have to admit, I'm a huge fan. However, my wife is an even huger fan.
That's my hubby.
Ooh, we have a question from Super Hubby, but one more comment. Spoiler alert. The chicken is actually Silly Corky, who became half chicken because he ate too much at KFC.
That's obviously Katza.
Yes. Funny. Super Hubby asked the first question. So which is tougher, directing or acting?
Ooh, good question.
I would say that doing both at the same time, that's really the toughest part. I mean, directing can be extremely difficult depending on how complex the story is you're telling. So I can only imagine on these giant Marvel movies with all these moving pieces and all these different, digital effects shots, and that would be an unnervingly complicated process as far as I'm concerned. But, kind of telling simple stories, also, kind of dramatic storytelling when it comes to TV series and stuff like that. It's not, I don't want to discredit it as being simple because it isn't, but it's also not necessarily rocket science when you kind of understand how to tell a story with a camera. But just working as a director, which I haven't done, I've always been acting and directing at the same time, but I would prefer to have the experience of just directing and really, approaching the storytelling from a much more detailed perspective. Because being on set, acting and directing, I have to lean on my director of photography and my first AD a whole lot more. When we're shooting, when I'm on screen, especially obviously, than I would like to. The last film that we just finished, we shot this film. It'll be 8 days total, but we shot most of the film in 7 days. And so we really had to run and gun, and I wasn't really able to see a lot of the shots because we didn't have time to do playback and do all of that mousy stuff. I just had to trust my DP and say, did you get it? And trust the first AD that everything seemed fine. And we just had to move on and see it in the editing room. And so far, you know, that trust has paid off. Everything's looking really good and editing very well.
Awesome.
You've had some challenging roles like Bundy. You did Bundy, you did Jonas Quinn, you've done a Star Trek role. Do you have any good stories in any of these that you care to share?
There's, I mean, some, you know, every movie kind of has its own, you know, stories that go along with it. Some really funny stories from Operation Dumbo Drop, working with Ray Liotta and Danny Glover and Dennis Leary, especially Dennis Leary. But you know, and then on Stargate, I mean, well, you know, what one of the biggest things that happened on Stargate was just a giant brown bear came on set one morning while we were setting up to film for the day up in the woods, and it came over to the craft service table and just started like eating bagels and lox and like munching on blueberry muffins, and they had to call the animal control to dart it, and they load it on a truck and drive it off, you know, and drive it somewhere deep in the woods and drop it back off.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that was pretty hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
You know, but you know, yeah, totally. So, you know, I mean, every project, I mean, you know, the Star Trek thing, I had just gotten out. I had been horribly injured in an on-set accident filming in Belize, and the Star Trek Renegades, you know, shows that we did. We only did 2 episodes or 3 episodes or something like that. But those episodes, I mean, I was really not even hardly able to walk at the time. So, you know, we had to structure all of my scenes where I like kind of get up out of a chair and like shuffle forward a little bit because I had shattered my leg and had like 5 surgeries, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, like that was going on while filming that. And there was, so that's not very funny, obviously, but
Well, it's
you
quite
know,
a story though. Yeah,
every single, yeah, I mean, every project has its funny moments, you know. I mean, Supernatural, working on Supernatural, Jared and Jensen, they had these tiny motorcycles. They were like little hot rod motorcycles, you know, that they would ride around the back lot at the studios up in Vancouver. But and they each one had them parked outside of their trailer where they were at between scenes, and the distance from like where their trailers were to the studio door was only about maybe, you know, 25 yards or something, you know. It wasn't very far. And but they would, but when they'd be called to set, they would come out of their trailer, get on these tiny little bikes, and they're both giants, so it was like bears riding bikes in a circus, you know. And they'd get on these tiny little motorcycles and start them up, and they'd drive 25 yards to the entrance of the studio, put the kickstands down, park them, and then like walk onto set. And then when they leave set, they do the same thing and drive back to their. I'm like, these guys, I mean, they're having way too much fun making this show. This is just ridiculous.
Awesome. But you've been in so many iconic things. Like you were on Parker Lewis Can't Lose in the 90s, right? Like that was one of your earlier projects, though, was it not?
It was certainly one of the, you know, one of the ones that got bigger. I mean, my first real brush with bigger success was starring as Steven Stainer, and I Know My First Name is Steven, the miniseries in the 80s, when I was nominated for an Emmy at 15, you know, years old. Wow. That was the first time really where I was elevated into kind of a different category of competitive actors, or competitive acting, that is. And then, you know, it was a couple of years after that I ended up getting the role in Parker Lewis Can't Lose. But I really got that part because of it was a single episode of a pilot that was released as a TV special that was produced by Eddie Murphy Productions and CBS, called What's Alan Watching, that Eddie Murphy himself was also in, but I was acting alongside, you know, Barbara Barry and Peter Michael Getz played my parents, and Fran Drescher was my sister in it, and Pauly Shore was my nemesis, and all, you know, it was in this great collection of actors that were doing spots on it, and it was similar in vibe to Parker Lewis Can't Lose. It was kind of quirky and weird, and it was outside the box. You know, it was the story about this kid named Alan who had a crazy family life, and I played Alan, and his escape was television. But in watching television, he could sometimes interact with the people on TV, and at times enter into the TV itself and join in whatever's happening in the in the scene that's going on television. So it was wild, and Clyde Phillips was a huge fan of that one single TV special that was supposed to become a series, but it didn't. And he just thought of me as being the right person to play Parker Lewis several years later when he got the green light over at Fox to do the series. So I kind of walked into it already, you know, having kind of gotten the nod of approval from the creators of the show. And because of my history and with the I know my first name is Steven, and with the Emmy nomination, all that, it was just recent enough that I got network approval pretty easily as well to be the lead on that show, because it is a title character. I mean, they did, I know that they did audition, quite a number of people around town that had big names and stuff for Parker Lewis. I don't know exactly which ones, but I know they did. So I don't know exactly who I was up against, but the outcome of that for me as a young actor was tremendous. I mean, here I was starring on this really, really cutting edge, hilarious, well written, well produced, well shot, crazy comedy about high school, the way that anybody would ever want to live through it, having the whole school rigged with our own camera system and secret rooms behind lockers. We had secret rooms behind lockers, and it was Kubiak had turned one of the boys' bathrooms into like his own lounge, and he had like a pizza oven in there, and he had like a cutting board and a refrigerator, and it was just an outrageous show. It's on Plex right now, and there's also a great podcast called Synchronized Swatches, or the Swatch Pod, which is all just about Parker Lewis. They're just doing a viewing one episode through and then talking about it, but it's a great podcast, and it was a great show. I'm so blessed to have been on it, and I'm glad it's on Plex now. So if anybody wants to be nostalgic, you can tune in.
Very cool.
I love that.
I have a question it's from my friend Jeremy Mancuso. He says, would there be a potential SG1 reboot?
Well, Amazon was supposed to do one, but it apparently just got shelved. I mean, they made this big announcement that they were going to reboot, Stargate, and then a month and a half, 2 months goes by, and they make another announcement saying, never mind. I don't.
We were lying. We're sorry.
I don't know what I only have theories as to why that may have been. I mean, my only theory is that it's kind of that. Maybe this is true, but it's all hypothetical. But maybe that when you're trying to top a show like Stargate SG1 with a new version of it in 2026, with how expensive everything is now to produce and do, and how much everybody's getting paid, I just feel like they probably crunched the numbers and were like, this is going to be an outrage.
Let me rethink this.
Valid.
That's my going theory, because I feel like, also I feel like approaching, it'd be interesting to approach Stargate a little bit more simple and tell kind of like simpler stories to get it going at first, and then build that up later. But I don't know. I would love for them to do, whether I'm involved or not, I really don't care.
Definitely need to get you involved, right?
But I don't think, from my understanding, they weren't ever planning on bringing back any of the original cast members from any of the different incarnations of the show. But I still think it would be highly beneficial to any network or any studio or anybody else who were to get involved and to produce a new series for Stargate. I don't see it. If they stick with kind of the original premise of Stargate, team traveling through, you know, the Stargates and having these off-world experiences and dealing with all of that, I think that they'll hit the mark hard. But I think if they try to go too far with it and, you know, make it into something that it never really was, that it probably wouldn't go over as well.
He says, thank you for your answer, and you were a great journalist.
Yeah. That's
what Jeremy said.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Wonderful.
That's a problem, is that sometimes that shows kind of steer clear. They steer from the original premise. And I think that's what started happening with Stargate when they brought in like the Ori and all of that stuff. I think they should have stuck with the original. And like I said, my comment online regarding when you were there and then they brought Michael Shanks is I think they should have kept both of you, because both of you brought something that the whole team needed. And I don't think they should have phased you out. I think they should have kept both of you.
Yeah, I would have loved that. My career certainly would have loved it. But the longer you can, as an actor, the longer you can be on a series, the better off you are. Gainful employment is always tough in the arts and entertainment industry, as anybody knows. And that doesn't matter how much work you've done. You know, it's incredible. I mean, I'm very blessed to have worked with the kind of consistency that I've worked with over the years, including having numerous films coming out, up this year. One
so
called
cool.
Myra, that's an action adventure. Sorry?
I said that's so cool.
Yeah. There's one called Myra. It's an action adventure that I shot with my buddy Robert Frazier. He's a great director. I did another film with him that came out a year or so ago, called Day Labor. That was a thriller as well. This is more of an action adventure, but that's coming out hopefully this year for sure. There's one called Buster Brooks that's a really awesome kind of slice of life drama and a bit of a comedy, a soft comedy, and that'll be coming out this year. And then another one called Kill Trip. That's sort of this film noir thriller that is very interesting, that's coming out this year. And obviously I'm editing Chickenhead now, and I think there's even one other project that's slipping my mind. But so it's been great. I've been definitely very blessed. And if anybody out there wants to kind of track along with what I'm up to, you can follow me on all the different platforms at the same tag. I am the letter I, the letter M, and then my name, Corin Nemec. I'm Corin Nemec across all platforms except for YouTube, which is Corin Nemec TV.
And while I was looking at those, speaking of your social medias, I happened to stumble upon something else that you happen to do, graffiti. Would you care to share about that?
Yes, I know we're tight on time, but I'll go over it real quick. I started. My mom was in the music business when I was growing up, and I really got into the hip hop music at a young age, and especially the breakdancing side of it, and the whole art, the art form, the graffiti art as an art form was part of that. And I moved to Los Angeles from Atlanta, Georgia, in the mid '80s. And there were some kids in one of my art classes that I had. I had a graphic design class that I was in 8th grade. And there were some other kids in that graphic design class that were already at like 12 years old, were like such good graffiti artists. I was like, what on earth is this? I was coming from Atlanta doing bubble letters and stupid stuff, and so I was like, this is very cool. And I got into it very heavily at a very young age, 11, 12 years old, and started painting on walls and obviously tagging and doing all of the other things that go along with it. But it's been such a passion of mine my whole life that I never stopped. I mean, I still paint, even to this day, not as often as I did in the past, but I still continue to paint. And I was doing custom paintings and things like that, and a lot of street art. I've traveled all over the world doing street art and painting and doing festivals. And my work is in a number of coffee table books, but people don't even know that it's Corin Nemec. They just think it's Pike 169. From TCF, the Chosen Few, which is the graffiti crew that I've been in since the '80s, that still is active today. And so, You know, it's wild. So my graffiti website is the169. So it's at the169 on Instagram, and that has all of, you know, you'll see that I haven't been as active in the last number of years, but I do some more mural stuff recently, which has been great. But yeah, graffiti has been a huge part of my life since I was a wee lad.
Well, I happened to catch it on there, and I'm like, that's really cool. So I wanted to make sure to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the chat real
if
quick
you check
before
out,
we have to wrap up?
Yes. Little cat emoji. Cute. Let's see. Super Hubby said, met Danny Glover. He was awesome. Dumbo Drop was great. I have seen Dumbo Drop. It was
That was a
great.
great
I can
movie.
concur with that. Yogi was on the wrong set, says Jeremy Vanders. Sure. Also says, would like to see what they're doing with Stranger Things and Firefly in cartoon form. Well, you should stick around and find out, bud. Let's see. And Super Hubby has a good question. You've been injured on set a couple of times. Any advice for recovering faster?
do what the doctor tells you.
Period.
Right.
Like, don't think, oh, I got this, I know what to do. Like, you know, when I had my injury, I literally was like, how much physical therapy do I need to do? How much is it? Okay, let's double that. Let's do as much physical therapy as, you know, the production insurance has allotted for this. I want to do it all. I don't even care, you know how long this takes. I want to make sure that I have as full of a recovery as I can, because up to that point, I'd always prided myself on doing a lot of my own stunts and action stuff and all of that, and it was a blast. And after that injury, you know, basically I have to be very careful when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, you know, after that injury, I sort of segued into doing a lot more like Lifetime channel movies and stuff like that, instead of those, you know, sci-fi creature feature action stuff. I sort of, you know, leaned in a different direction and tried to focus more on, you know, whatever other dramatic or comedic roles I could do that don't entail me potentially injuring my already injured self.
That part.
Right.
Well, we have a few minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I'd just like to add that that all four of you are wonderful, magical little wood fairies, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you all. Obviously, everybody, make your wishes for a great future for all of humanity, and wave your wands around, and so mote it be.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming.
Said, so it shall be.
Coming on, you're an amazing guest, and like I said, you made my birthday month, so thank you so much. And actually, my birthday week.
Yes, so and happy early birthday to you. Tomorrow is the big day, but happy birthday to you now.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. So if you to learn more about him and his work, you can head over, as he said. Instagram right now is the one that's scrolling across. It's IMCORINNEMEC. So make sure you spell that correctly. You can reach out to him and check it out. There's tons on his Instagram. I know that he's on Instagram, he's on Facebook, he is on Twitter as well, or X, whatever you choose to call it.
Yeah.
You can also check out his project that he says is going to be coming out soon. Next week we have heavy metal Christian artist Jason Wayne. So check it out next week. We will be at the same time.
Awesome.
Box. Thank you those who wish me happy birthday. Mambi, make sure to take us out. And Corin Nemec, thank you so much for making my week. Mambi,
it's my pleasure. You made mine.
And y'all make sure to smash that thumbs up real quick, guys. And if you're not following us already, CJ Peterson, Mombirella, Juju the Cosplayer on Instagram, UK the Cosplay on Instagram, and CJ and me are on YouTube, TikTok, and all the things. So then, guys, share this out because you have some awesome stories. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We really appreciate it. And
you betcha.
get your wands up. Get your wands up, guys, because it is time. Mischief managed. Bye.